Well folks, welcome back to the workshop. Today we've got a Milwaukee hammer hunt for repair. This is the 545S. This is the older version from 2009. What's wrong with this one? Not doing anything. We'll start with the simple stuff. That's not looking good. Yeah. It's not off to a good start anyway. Needs a new motor. So that segment's all raised up, blown out, and sharp. So in other words, when that was running, it was just acting like a file and just eating away them brushes. So it's just ate them away 10 times faster till there's no brushes left because the armature's actually gone and just filing away the carbon. So now they've popped, stopped the machine. If I put on a new set of brushes there now, that's just going to be lighting up like a fireworks show. That motor's gone, so it needs replaced. And I can't even test it to see what it's hammering like. What to do here? No idea if this side's any good or not. It might be needing a complete service, could be leaking oil. I don't know. Not much you really can do. Change the motor and then see what she's hammering like. If she's not hammering well, then you're going to have to go into more money servicing it as well. But for now, we're going to put a new motor onto it first and see what she runs like then. These machines are always a torture. There's a couple of flaws with them, but the brushes as well, even just down to this big long sense wire. All it's for is just to stop the machine or turn on a wee red light whenever the brushes are worn out. The length of that there meant you couldn't even modify brushes, you had to use the Milwaukee ones. So if you didn't have them, you had to wait for them to come in. Not that big a deal, but just an extra wee headache. I just never like these things. That's running all the way up and behind the handle onto the control board. Just there. Look at the length of that thing. Now to take out the motor, which means this bottom half has to come off and this cover has to come off. But all these wires here are through the bottom housing. So you can leave them in place, but it's very awkward. The best thing to do is just take them out. And to do that you have to remove the brush holder. Field wire there. Try to squeeze that out. We'll just mark these so we know. See through this side. just leaving these red ones on. I'll see red here. Get rid of that. We can get into this. Feeling that looks okay. Feel we'll get away with. Armature itself, that was the main problem. See the actual resin's cracked there as well. You can see the amount of damage. There's no mistaking that's blowing. You can actually feel how much is raised when you get any armature with a blackened segment. This is a very obvious one, but even if just one was a little bit lighter or darker than the rest, that also means it's gone. Another way of telling, I see the gaps between. See, these ones are nice and square, straight. If you get to a one like this one, the gap's bigger and jagged. It's another good way of telling. See, even just that one there is just about shorter out as well. Just a couple of ways of telling if you can't tell straight off if it's gone. Any discrepancies on it at all, that's it. Whenever you can't see anything at all looks good, that's when you need to use the growler to actually test the internals of it to see if it's shorted out. But even still, sometimes they're gone or just about to go and you can't always tell. Luckily this one is pretty obvious. The main question is, have I got one to replace it with? So we have a new set of brushes, as your number here, you have reading them. We also have a little rubber boot at the bottom of the armature, this one here. It's always good to replace that if you're in any doubts about it. It's only cheap, so we'll just replace that too. And then lastly, a new armature. There's the number here, 4931449972. That's for the 110 volt armature. Now a nice one. Actually comes with everything already fitted. Look at that. I thought it was just kind of the armature. I'm going to have to change the bearing and the plate, swap them over. But no, everything's there, just apart from the little rubber boot. So, new bearings as well on it. Nice one. Less work for me. Now, another thing worth noting is the gears on top. See the little step there? They are worn on. So the meshing gear and here for the crank will also be a little bit worn. Not as bad as this one, because obviously these teeth are probably making contact 10 times as much as the crank teeth because there's more of them. So this one wears in a lot faster. But they will still have a little bit of wear on them. They're not going to be brand new. So that's a worn gear going to be meshing against a brand new gear. Because of that, there is a chance whenever this is actually running, you'll be able to hear it, and it might sound a little bit geary because these gears will not be matching perfectly. Sometimes, not all the time. Hopefully, it should be alright because this one isn't all that badly worn. Might get away with this, but you'll not know until you start it up. Now, I'll also just give this a quick wee clean. It's a little bit cleaner. Now this seal as well, she is a little bit worn. Should be alright, leave it as is, but you're on the risk. If it does fail, all the grease is going to come out and onto your new motor and make more of a mess. So I might just actually change that, but I haven't got one of these. Luckily, Bosch one's the exact same. That's the Bosch number. This is a 1230 7. So this is a 12mm inside, 30 outside, 7mm thick seal. And this one, a little bit worn, but it should be the same. Looks like a 1237. Hopefully it's right anyway, because if I'm wrong, that's right anyway. 12. Hopefully I'm right anyway, because if I'm wrong, I'm going to end up destroying the seal, popping it out. And if I'm wrong, the new one's not going to fit. I'm going to have to store this then until the new one comes in. So hopefully this does match. Now it would be easier to press it out from this side, but I want to avoid opening this here if I can, just to keep it clean inside, not contaminate the grease, and need to service it then. So you can prise it off from this side too. Now, hopefully this fits. Look at that. An exact match. So if you're stuck, you don't have the seal for this Milwaukee, you can just use the Bosch one. So that's the same one used on the GSH5, the GBH5, and that's the number there. That'll do that. What I'll also do is put a little bit of fresh grease on. Just a touch, mind you, because we don't know how much is in there. The only good thing with these Milwaukees, very easy to change the armature on them. I'll have to strip down the entire machine for it. Nope, before we forget, just put that little sleeve on there. Otherwise this bearing won't actually fit the housing down here. A little wobbling around, and the armatures will end up rubbing off your field and burning it out. handle first. So this side was blue. Brush wire there. As well, if you are ever changing the armature, always change the brushes as well. Don't reuse the old ones. Not much point in spending 120 or 150 quid on a new armature and skimping out on a set of €20 brushes. So the brushes are worn, they're concave, they're not going to contact the armature right. You want them both nice and flat so they're not arcing across to start with. That arcing is going to cause heat. The boy abuses the machine straight away, could quickly burn the armature out. So always change the brushes. Now, that's the new armature and brushes fitted. Question is now, what does she run like? More importantly, what does she hammer like? Motor sounds good. Now to test the hammer. Not so bad. We can get away with that. She's hammering fine. She's able to lift herself off whenever there's no pressure being pushed down on the handle. It means the actual piston and striker's got good compression. So that is good to go. Now that would have been a much longer repair. I had to have serviced this as well. But with her hammering good and the motor running, she's ready for work. So that's her. One Milwaukee Kango 545 hammer. With a new armature, oil seal, bit of grease, brushes and a bearing sleeve at the bottom. That gets her up and running again. Not an awful lot of work, not that hard to do, only a few spare parts, but still, that there cost €200. Not cheap. But that's still more than a third of the cost of actually going out and buying a new one. So saves you money that way. Would have been different though, if it had needed a service as well, you could have easily added on another 100, if not more, onto the price of that. But that's her, up and running again. That'll keep this man happy. Give us a wee like and a follow at the bottom there if you like this kind of stuff. Cheers.